Hello and VGATs, I'm Jazz, and today I'll be yelling into the infinite void of YouTube about my feelings on the current state of internet horror media. From possessed animatronics to no clipping out of reality to quirky demons that steal your appearance, internet horror has a vast array of quality and plenty of subgenres for any type of scare you can think of. From psychological horror to comedic horror, supernatural horror, found footage type horror, Lovecraftian horror, and child-oriented horror. Ugh. The list is almost infinite with the things you can put on a screen to scare people, and the overlap between them has also to be mentioned. But most of these things have one thing in common. The most interesting thing about them, they were created by one or a few people just like you and me. People who love to write and make strange stories, who have this strange itch and fascination with the things that go bump in the night. For the sake of time and because I have to serve the YouTube gods, I'm only going to cover 2 of these for each section. So let's go. Unlike modern horror movies, YouTube in particular has produced some genuinely terrifying media. The Backrooms is a series created by Kane Pixels. It's an excellent example of how to do horror. There's the fear of the unknown, the uncanny valley, a looming dread, mixed with eerie sounds and visuals. Kane crafts a story full of great scares and beautifully terrifying visuals. Each video seems to capture a different type of dread while always seeming to make it back to humanity's greatest fear, the unknown. Watching through the series, especially on first viewing, I had this feeling in the back of my head and in my stomach. It wasn't as bad as to keep me up at night, like some things I'll talk about later. But there's definitely a creep factor, and the story Kane is telling is compelling and interesting. Now, the Backrooms as a concept existed before Kane, but no one had ever put this weird and terrible world in video like this before. And it brought it to the public eye, for better or for worse. The series is still ongoing as of the writing and making of this video, so there may even be more amazing horror in the future, so go check it out. Our next piece of media is called The Unlocking. It's a short film directed and written by Thomas Brush. It's award-winning, and it's one of the best horror short films I've seen in a while. The Unlocking is about a man that seems to have some type of obsessive-compulsive disorder with a touch of schizophrenia. He has a fear of someone getting into his house if he doesn't lock his door over and over and over every night. And oddly enough, he may be right. I watched this film like around midnight, and that was a horrible idea. I didn't have any nightmares, but boy did I check and recheck that my door was locked at least 5 separate times. The atmosphere this film sets from the very beginning is to be admired, and anyone who's looking to create horror media should definitely watch and take notes. Modern internet horror isn't all great though. In fact, more often than not, it's boring, aimed at children for merchandise, and flat out a cash grab. Take Five Nights at Freddy's, for example. There used to be a semblance of fear in the games between the atmosphere of The Office, the sound design, and the nightmares Scott Cawthon came up with in his head. But now the series has shifted to a more family-friendly approach. The animatronics are bright and shiny and have hilarious personalities. The story in the new games are convoluted and more sci-fi than horror. I don't think there was a single moment in any of the new games that made me feel chills, and I felt more frustrated than terrified. We went from being trapped in a small dark room, fighting for our life with limited resources, to running around in a brightly lit mall where Freddy is your bestest friend. The scariest thing about this game is the fear of dying after beating the first half of the game and having your progress reset. Yikes.
Where? No!
In the next segment, there's way too many things to go over, so I'm just gonna cite off a few here and what they've done to be horrible to the indie horror genre. Hello neighbor and Poppy and Piggy and Baldy and Granny and Rainbow friends. Garden of Banban, Project Playtime, and many more Roblox games. God, I could spend a whole video talking about how I hate these games, but if I spend any more time on this segment, I may end up going insane. Anyway, all of these games, if we can call them that, have one thing in common. They are quick cash grabs marketed at children through YouTube. Plain and simple. There have always been bad horror games, but this new trend of making a game literally just to capitalize on children for a chunk of change? I don't think that's a hot take to say, but it's a bad thing. They are lazy, exploitative, is that how you say that?
Exploitative,
and in some cases, stolen. Allegedly, I'll add. They are just trying to make the next FNAF or Bendy and put no heart and soul into what they do. They're filled with bugs and flaws, and I'm done talking about them before I have a brain aneurysm. Okay, here's the stuff that will keep you up at night. If you have the stomach to actually handle watching this stuff at night, hell, even watch at all, you're in for a fantastic scare. You all knew this was coming. The Mandela Catalog, created by Alex Kister on YouTube. This is a horrifying tale about freaky demons who are called alternates. They basically take on the form of whoever they want and make people unalive themselves, and then take their place. If the concept wasn't scary enough, the visuals, oh my god, the visuals. You know, I don't think I can describe it. So just watch this. I am inside your home.
Let's face it, us parents know how time-consuming it is to keep an eye on our young children. While working is essential, they must receive attention from us so that they know we love them too. Some of us may rely on key things that keep them entertained, like toys, walks in a stroller, or even cartoons on the family television. Be cautious with what channels your children view on the television, since you never know what harmful content they may be seeing.
See, I'm already on edge. The VHS style of these videos is derived from another excellent piece of media, a little series called The Walton Files. Now, I won't go much into this on this video, but it's an excellent example of how to do mascot horror correctly, unlike some franchises. There are so many segments in the Mandela Catalog that made me shiver, jump, and I even had to shut it off a few times because I was so overwhelmed like a little child. I won't go into spoilers, but the video entitled Intruder Alert literally had me up at night in fear. Excellently terrifying, and I love it. Oh, I want to go into so much more detail on this series. If you want to see some more detail without actually watching it, I would suggest Wendigoon. He's got a great channel with some great outlook on the Mandela Catalog, but I would highly recommend that you actually go watch the series for yourself. It is so terrifying and I love it. Our last piece of horror media that I'm going to cover is a little bit different than the others. It's probably the creepiest, most unsettling horror game I've ever seen. Well, it's actually 3 games, I'm kind of cheating here, but they tell one horrific story. Faith, the Unholy Trinity, is a game with graphics based on those older 8-bit games and has heavy inspiration from the satanic panic of the 1980s. Set in the year 1986, we hear about a girl named Amy, the daughter of the Martin family, who is possessed by a demon, so her parents call on the Catholic Church. They send Father Allred and John Thomas Ward to investigate the case and exorcise Amy, or at least attempt to. I know the plot seems a little cliched with things such as The Exorcist or The Conjuring. It really does turn into a horrific tale coupled with the visuals in play. Just hearing about the experience for me won't really do the trick. So after watching, and liking and subscribing, you should go and play the game. I mean it. It's on Steam, and if you enjoy horror, it's a must play. And that's it. I discussed all of my favorite pieces of media in the horror genre. I couldn't discuss every piece of media I wanted to, and I tried to avoid spoilers as much as I could, but I hope that you've enjoyed. Until next time, I've been Jazz. Tschüss, auf Wiedersehen, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.